Okay, then. Well, Franca and Alberta, Marcia and David, we're just so delighted that y'all are here. We are very, very, very interested in what you have to tell us. And with that, I would very much like to turn the floor over to all of you.
Okay, I'm gonna try to share the screen. Hopefully my internet is gonna be stable enough for us to view it, or I will need your help, okay? Either Candace or Lene, one of you.
Candace is ready to go in case it's needed, so.
Okay, if you're ready to go, Candace, go ahead, and I will gently ask you to turn the slides when it's time.
Okay, just one moment then. Okay, slideshow. Okay, can you see that?
All right. Yes, I do see that. So, well, David, Marcia, please jump in whenever you feel like you want to say something. This is just a very short version of the wonderful things that you guys have brought to light to us and to the rest of the community in the Spartanburg County. You saw a need and you acted. And that's the most generous things that I have seen. You know, I've been working with the Red Cross and with the nonprofits. I've seen a lot of initiatives, but this one is one that is really creating a lot of buzz also in the community and a lot of support. So if we can go to the next slide, please.
Okay. Trying to. Okay, is that it?
All right. So everything started many, many years ago, even prior to 2021, when Marcia and I met through the Red Cross. But their story and our collaboration as a volunteer also started in 2021 when Mary and Martha moved from their previous location to the new one here in Bowling Springs, South Carolina. And we start to volunteer with them, helping with the restoration of the location. And then it came up this beautiful thrift boutique. Sisters Boutique is the name, which support the mission of Mary and Martha Services. What they do, they help people resettle into a new home or helping homeless and women coming from domestic violence and many other needs, house fires. So that's what the Sisters Boutique does in support of the Mary and Martha Services mission. So if we could go to the next slide here, you can see Alberto doing some help with the restoration. We had fun with that. So last year, unfortunately, the war in Ukraine happened, and we saw an increase in Mary and Martha. Marcia saw the increase of refugee coming into our area, and they have a connection with the Slavic community, and people start to ask help and assistance. And Marcia came up with the idea of doing something more for these families. And so the program started somehow, trying to figure it out what was the best way Mary and Martha could assist this family. So the refugee came through different ways, different programs from the US government. The Ludenberg program is the reunification program for those seeking asylum, but it's a reunification that allowed them to stay in the United States for a temporary time, and they have to have a family member, somebody that will support their stay in the country. So It's not one of the best programs because it requires a lot of paperwork through the embassy and the consulate, but they can eventually use that particular program. In the meantime, the government got organized, so they offered additional way to assist the seekers through the consulate and also through the U4U, which is United for Ukraine program. If we can go to the next slide, please. So the U4U Ukraine Humanitarian Parole Program is the one that is most common and started to be used by the refugees after the spring of last year and through September 2023. So this particular program through the U.S. Embassy works because the refugee can also work, have a temporary permit to work. They don't have to wait to go through the process of applying for a work permit, and it is actually speed up that situation. And they also don't have to pay for the work permit because their parole status allows them to apply for a job while that permit actually arrives. So the employer doesn't have to go through the loops of the verifications because they have already been processed by the custom at the border when they come to the US. And additional information, of course, are available at the USCIS government website, which is listed in there. Marcia or David, would you like to add something to this specific program?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Though the government has provided this opportunity, very few businesses understand it. So one of the things that we have done is to print off the documentation for that, which is about a page worth. And then when our clients come in and we interview them, one of the things that we include in our resource packet is information of how they can apply for their EAD cards, which is their work permit cards. And also we give them this form that they can take if they find businesses that they're interested in working for. They can take this form with them, introduce themselves and say, I see, and they'll probably have to have a English translator to go with them, but they say, you know, I have an interest in working in this position. I know that some of the employers are not aware of the fact that the United States is now allowing us to work. And we've applied for our work permit and our Social Security card. This is the documentation from the United States that says that we can go ahead and apply for jobs and go ahead and work. And the relief that you see on the people's faces when we share that with them, I mean, that's just one of the things that when they are leaving, they turn around and they want to give us hugs with tears in their eyes that, someone is giving us information that we need in order to move ahead in our lives. And that's a real fear of those. What do we do when we get to America? How are we going to survive? Where are we going to live? Where are we going to, where's this, you know, we don't have any money. Where's the stuff going to come from? And those are the kind of questions and fears that we try to help them resolve as best we can.
And so this is actually getting better and better, right? The package that the family received during the interview is exactly updated every time there is a new information that Mary and Martha shares with them during the interview. So they provide a list of household items that they could select and as furniture, mattresses, box springs, linens, household, little appliances, if available. So all of this little list is made in English and in Ukrainian or Russian, because most of them speak also Russian. So they are able to understand what the items are. And because some don't speak English and they need the translators many times with them during the interview. Marcia in the package provide all the medical information available, the food bank available, referrals to community organizations that can supply what Mary and Martha cannot supply at the time. And so far they have interviewed almost 600 people, made of 301 adults. This is the current number that David provided yesterday, and 286 children. And that's amazing, because all of the items provided come from community resources, donation that Mary and Martha received, and they, had given to the family, give them a sense of normality, or a sense of a home far away from home, because these people have lost everything and they just come up with a bag of a few items, whatever they were able to bring in their long journey to the United States. If we can move to the next slide, please. And the picture shows one of the interviews. Mary and Martha services have a lot of friends in the community. Last year, they were a beneficial of an auction for a cause through the Sertoma Club. There was a nice program during the fall. World Relief is another great connection that Mary and Martha uses for referring people now for employment assistance, because they received some grants from the government. So that's another great avenue for the refugees, because they can be independent, while before they had to support themselves or use the generosity of the family and friends that were hosting them. A few other, organizations like the Spartanburg County Foundation, the Broad River Electric Corporate, the Rotary Club of the Carolina. We did our small part to also help them. And of course, Alberto and I love and enjoy to continue to volunteer with Mary and Martha, because it's a great organization, but they are great people. David and Marcia are really great people. They really care for the community. They care for the people, and it's just an honor to be there.
And I just want to add that Franca described very well, and please, again, Marcia and David jump in at any time, where Marcia with David have organized on the front end that includes the contact with the families, the interviews, and then the back end is where also David jumps in and other than helping on the front end, where the actual action is, and that also includes Marcia, which is receiving donation from people that want to donate furniture, household items, and so forth. And those items are in very good condition and can be delivered to the families in need. That's where they go directly from a pickup stage, where David goes and pick up stuff when I can help. And the stuff gets cleaned up. Marcia and David both are very, very, very particular. Something is not perfect and absolutely super clean is not going anywhere. If the item, it could be a piece of furniture, and as I said, a small appliance or something else. it goes directly out after going through inspection and cleaning, or goes into the thrift store, which is the second room from the front. The front is a sister boutique where the most valuable items can be sold, and the money help to buy new items like mattresses and pot and pans for the refugees or for whomever is in need. Instead, the stuff that is not perfect or not very valuable goes in the second room, which is a thrift store, and everything again that gets sold there help the cause. So just want to again thanks both Marcia and David for their great work, and they work long hours, they're tireless and absolutely selfless, and they do really a fantastic job and help for the community of all these guys in need.
Can we go to the next slide, please? So they have also other community partners in the area, and the Greenville Woodworkers Guild, they built and donated those bunker beds, something that is not very common but the Ukrainian family are very large families. We have seen a family with 9, 10 children, and the houses sometimes cannot accommodate so many beds. And this was just a blessing because, you know, you can accommodate 4 kids in one room. They all have different ages. Most are very young, so they can share a room for a little bit until they grow. And so this was a very good support for those large families, because they solved the logistic problem, right, David? Just putting together those beds. David is the one who makes all the deliveries, so he makes sure that they have all they need and evaluate the space just to accommodate the right piece of furniture for each family. Make sure they are comfortable and have as much as they can have. Next one, please.
Can I say something there?
Yes, please.
Okay. You know, what we also found out is that having some media that came in with the Greenville Woodworkers Guild, the Quilting Guild, are you going to be mentioning that later, Franca? I'm not sure, but the
no, go ahead.
The Quilters Guild in the Greenville area, one of the quilter guilds, they found out about the 15 bunk beds that were being made, and they called and asked if we would be interested in receiving handmade, well, they're machine made, but they do them themselves, blankets, quilts for every bunk bed, along with custom made pillowcases. And they donated that to us. And I tell you, the looks on these families' faces when we give them these things, the bunk beds and these pillows, it is amazing. The children just get so excited about the pillowcases and the blankets and the beds. So
yeah, we did. And forgive my typo because I put bunker bed instead of bank bed, but that's it. It's the same.
We understand. It's bunker beds to them because it costs a lot of money to get.
Cost a lot of money.
It was free to them.
Very fancy.
But they are wonderful. Next slide, please. The picture you see on this slide, it's one of those large families, a special to me, but I think special to all of us, Marcia and David, because the story behind this family, it's a little bit tragic, more than the others maybe, I don't know. But the picture on the bottom is the delivery of a Christmas gift this past December. You see trash bags because she didn't want to disclose to the kids what kind of gift was inside for each one of them. So they were not wrapped, and she wanted to keep a secret for as long as possible, the mom. So they are kind of disguised under those trash bags. This family has 9 children. The old one is 18 and the youngest is 3 months old, the one that you see on the picture on the top. She was born in the US. When she arrived in Natalia, the mom, she was pregnant. The husband, unfortunately, when he arrived, they had already been in an injured during the war. And he arrived and was hospitalized for a few months. He's still recovering from the injury. Is getting better, but he's still not able to work. So this family was dear near to us because of this special situation that they were going through. They have resettled into a new home. They are trying to find their way to move on. The kids are going to school. The oldest one, I think, is trying to find work, right, Marcia? So they are getting where they need to be, and hopefully the husband, Natalia husband, is going to recover soon enough for them to be a little more serene in the house, because I'm sure she has a lot on her plate right now. Next slide, please.
Just a little update on the family. Maxim is now starting to do auto repair. And so that's the father so he's out, and now he's trying to actually do some auto repair and getting paid for it. So he's
awesome.
Making moves forward, and that's a wonderful thing.
Awesome, that's a great news. Thank you, Marcia, for sharing that. I'm so glad that they are making some progress. Next one, please. So this is just a little bits of pieces of the boutique and the warehouse where Alberto, you see is back working, cleaning sofas, washing those sofas. That's the warehouse part, the one little corner, and a few corners of the boutique and thrift store. We have already done about 200 hours so far, but we are not thinking about stopping. So when we come back, Marcia, we will be all yours and try to do more. Next one. So just a little bit of information about Mary and Martha. There is the website, maryandmarthaservices.com. If you like, anyone like to support individually the cause, there is also a donate button. There is the address if you like to visit the store. It's a beautiful place, and they have lots of good goodies. I shop there every time. And then if you like to donate essentials, like just we did a few months ago in November, when we all got together and got some household and items that we could donate to Mary and Martha. Those are also welcome anytime. And of course, the Mary and Martha mission, I don't think it's gonna stop anytime soon, but they do also help a lot of displaced people in the community. In 2022, they served 218 people for house fire, domestic violence, homelessness, and all of that. So it's a great organization, and I think it's, you know, and any support, it's always appreciated. And I leave it for time for question and answer to Miriam and to David and Marcia. I think I did all I could. I hope I did well, and I was able to transfer my passion for this. But David and Marcia can answer, I'm sure, all the questions that you have.
And decide which hand ways us to go. So I have a question about the Mary and Martha services. Was it something that was in existence before the Ukraine war started, or did it start because of the war? Like, is it a new organization from that just partnered with the thrift store that was already started?
Let me sort of give you a brief sort of history. We wanted to do some kind of work for people who were in need. So we talked to World Relief. They told us they needed a warehouse to put donations into. So we began because World Relief needed something.
This was in 2017.
That was in 2017. Okay, so, and what's interesting is they sort of assigned us the Ukrainian community because our facility that Dave and I purchased for a warehouse was close to the Ukrainian community in the Inman area. Okay, so that we were so close, that's who they asked us to serve the most. We served all kinds of people from all kinds of countries, but those are the ones we mainly worked with. Then in 2020, am I saying that right? When we then moved from the smaller one over here, by the way, because we had grown so much, there was a need for more space. And we had in mind to start a store in order to be able to become self-sustainable in what we're doing. And of course, that takes time to develop the clientele or the customer base to help that happen. So that's what we're in the process of doing. At the same time, still inviting the community. And I tell you, the community is so generous and they give us beautiful things to sell in the store. And so that's sort of the time frame when the Ukrainian war started and they came to the Mexico border. You remember hearing on the news about all that happening. There was just a huge influx coming in. And of course, they were dispersed. They went to different places all over the United States. But we learned from some of our Ukrainian connections that we were having quite a few coming to the upstate area. So we asked around of who could help them or who was helping them and found out that no one else in the community was taking the initiative. And so when we talked about it with Franca and Alberto and our board and other people that we're connected with, they said that they would help us get the materials together and be able to move this forward if that's something that we felt that we were supposed to be doing. And that's how come we're doing what we're doing today. Alberto and Franca have been a tremendous support and help to us. I just want you to know that.
That doesn't surprise me one bit. They are always generous with their time and their talents and their treasures. They really, really are. I have a question. I'm curious of the families when they're looking for work. What is there a typical profession that they had in the Ukraine before they left, or is it just kind of all over the board of different things that they did?
I think the one employment that I hear the most about is construction. Okay, but they are basically, everything else is all over the board of, I mean, we've had physicians come, we've had nurses, we've had attorney, agriculture, truck drivers. I mean, I can just go on and on, just anything and everything. It's not any one particular profession.
Sure, sure. Okay.
So I'm just curious, actually first to comment that the process is so complex with so many moving parts, and I just have to know that they appreciate that somebody understands it and helps guide them through it. It's just amazing. But in terms of I understand that most of the men were expected to stay back in the Ukraine. So are you dealing primarily with mothers and children, or how many fathers are actually able to be with their families here?
At a certain age, they cut off those who need to stay. So if you're younger than, I think it's, what is it, 18 or
Well,
16?
part of the process is if you have children that's younger than 4, you don't have to stay. You can leave.
The parents can, both parents can. But then if you're older than a certain age, they can come as well. But the range of what they require to stay is quite large. Do we see more single mothers? I think a larger percentage than what would normally happen, obviously, because families that have, we've had some that have 12 kids in the family, to tell you the honest truth. And those parents, some of them have adopted, some of them are their own birth children. So some of them have adopted kids and bring them over with them probably for their protection, but they want to get their children out of the country, so they work on coming this direction. We've got quite a few of those with many, many children that have come to the United States for protection and to settle.
Thank you.
Marcia, are families still coming? Are they still, is there still refugees coming to your area?
Yeah, well, we started out back in April, and we watched the influx go from, of course, a lot of people didn't know that we were starting this, but it went from 2 or 3 a week, then it went to 6 a week, and we were seeing actually 9 families every week for about 3 months, anywhere from 6 to 9, which is a tremendous a lot. And then it started slowing down. We see probably an average of 3 families a week, which still tells us that we do have families coming in, and I always look at their passport to see when, that's one of the things, information we take down, when they've come in. And they've come in maybe a week or maybe 3 weeks prior to, so you can see that, yes, we are still getting people coming over that want to live in America, or at least be here to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the questions we ask is, do you want to live here permanently or temporarily? Because I think that's just a fascinating question in itself. And what is so interesting, most of them say, we don't know, because we only have a passport for 2 years, because that's their limit. Then I ask them, if you could, would you like to stay here in America permanently? And you should see the heads that nod. Yes, yes, we would really like to stay here permanently. And I think one of the most precious things that both Franca and I experience in our interviewing is when they stand up and they look at us and they say, "Spasibo, spasibo." And with tears in their eyes, they want to give us hugs because they appreciate so much the support that we are able to give them.
Wow. Wow. Lance.
I'm interested when the Ukrainians come over into the U.S., how is it decided, like who goes to Greenville, who goes to somewhere in Texas, or where the other locations are? How does that work?
Well, they're invited to go anywhere in the United States that they would like to go. It's not, there's no organization that determines where they have to go. And that's referring to Ukrainian war refuge seekers. But if they come in through World Relief, then they are channeled to the specific areas in which World Relief has an organization. And we have one in Greenville, a World Relief organization in Greenville. Okay, so the rest of them, we're finding that a lot of them came in through Mexico, And the closer areas, California or Washington, a lot of Ukrainian families are in Washington and Oregon area. But because the housing and the expenses are so high, they want to move east. And a lot of them will try to find out where can we go in the east end of the country where there is less expenses. And Spartanburg is a very popular place. I think we have the last census, there was what, 10,000 Ukrainian families in this area?
I'm not sure exactly. Partly they come to this area because they have friends or relatives here as well.
Yeah, those are several factors there that determine why they come or where they want to come.
Yeah, especially after August, the U.S. government asked for a sponsor in the U.S. So the sponsor, of course, whatever it is gonna call for that family to join, and that's why, you know, many are in our area because their sponsor is in our area in South Carolina, in the upstate of Greenville. And some then eventually move or some stay, but because of the reunification, also the Lutherburg program that should resume when the government in 2023 approved the new fiscal budget, will also determine where these people are going, because they either are united with a family member or they are still sponsored by somebody. They cannot show up at the border like they did at the beginning in February when the war started.
Great.
They need to be processed through the consulate, and then they need to arrive with the parolee already on their hands so they can start working immediately.
Yeah, and about, I'll just mention something about the work situation. We actually had one person, I think you know who she is, Franca, Alina, who didn't quite understand the requirements for moving or coming to the United States through the Lutherburg program, and she did not get a job right away. Her husband did, but she did not. And she discovered that they actually canceled her from the Lutherburg program because she hadn't got a job. So she has a job now, but you know, it's one of those things that if you do not follow exactly what those organizations require you to do, well, then you get penalized for it. And she discovered that, unfortunately, hard.
Wow. Well, this is just fabulous information. Franca and Alberta, Diana, please, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to go back to, you showed the physical address, but what are the hours that the store is open?
Okay, currently we are open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. and Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We periodically have yard sales in our front lot on Sundays afternoons. We have a church next door, so we don't start it until noon because they use our parking area as well. So we just start at 12. And by the way, if you're interested, Franca, if you can give us their email address of anybody that would be interested, we will add it to our list of people who will get our newsletter and our announcement of events that goes on. And then you can keep track of when we have sales and the events that go on in connection with us. And it'll give you a newsletter of what we're doing all the time. So that might be fun for you to have as well.
Marcia, I think people, yes, Diana, I'm glad you asked that question because that led to the newsletter. One of the things that I was going to ask about, you'll probably be covered in the newsletter. Franca and Alberta have done a fabulous job of keeping us up to date on items that are needed and how to support. one thing that I'm sure had been told us, but it didn't stick with me, your resale store. So I have a really quick question before we close. What are the most popular items that resell the best? So if we're looking at purging our households for something that might be of value to sell, are there any particular items that seem to go fairly fast in your resale store?
You know, that's an interesting question, because the donations that the community gives is just anything and everything they don't want, okay? So on that basis, we do what we call processing, and anything that needs to go into what we call the welcome kit, which is the kits that are given along what we call the complete household package that Dave delivers at these people's homes. We make sure those are given to the departments that actually put them in the welcome kits.
Okay.
All the rest of stuff that are not basic necessities. And by the way, we have a list over 100 items, and I know that Franca will be glad to get you that list. 100 items that our clients can sit down and check off what they want. So we don't limit them. The only limitations we have is, have those things been donated to us or not?
Right.
And we're totally dependent on what donations that have been given us in order to give to the people.
Okay.
And so anything that we don't use in the welcome kits, we take in the store. And, you know, people buy anything and everything. It's very
yes. Yes.
So, you know, I'm not going to limit you on what you might donate. It could be anything.
Okay. Marcia, thank you for that. And I think all of us can. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the fact that I had never heard of Mary and Martha Society before, and it reminds me of how many people have never heard of Rotary before. So I decided to look up Mary and Martha Society on the internet, and to my surprise, they're all over the world. And the first reference to the Mary and Martha Society was in 1836.
Wow.
So they've got Rotary B.
So there's societies, but we're Mary and Martha services that might help distinguish us from Mary and Martha societies.
Yeah, the internet says that there are many different names to it, but for whatever reason, maybe just the term Mary and Martha has a connection throughout the world.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Yes, absolutely. And a huge congratulations. And as we wrap up today, one of the things that we like to do, Marcia and David, this year we are working to support the little free libraries, and we actually have put one of these books in another library, but I think it's time to do another one. This is a story of a young child talking about my Ukrainian American adventure or story. And so this book will go into a little free library somewhere in the South Carolina area. It'll have a placard inside to say, in recognition of and with thanks to the Mary and Martha service for their amazing example of service above self. Because service above self is a phrase that we use within Rotary to talk about our service, and certainly you are a fabulous example of that. David, Marcia, thank you so much for joining us today. Franca and Alberta, it's wonderful to see y'all. It's fun to know that you're broadcasting from Sicily. You look fabulous, and we appreciate this presentation. We appreciate, and we're so proud of you for what the two of you do. And thank you so much for sharing it with us. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. So with that, I will ask everybody to unmute themselves and join us in the four-way test. This will conclude our program, but I want to say again, thank you to everybody who was here, and most especially Marcia, David, Franca, and Alberta for the wonderful presentation. So the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build a better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Yes. All right. So we will ring the bell, and we will say, Diana, I'm going to do a virtual bell today. So ding. And thank you all. And I look forward to seeing y'all. Candace will be leading you next week, and I'll see everybody on the 28th. So thank you all very, very, very much. Take care.
And I just want to shout out to Candace. Thank you for
thank you, David and Marcia.
The challenge to add on for the Syria and Turkey thing. So thank you for encouraging us to match that.
Yes. And I'll put that in the thank you note that goes out afterwards. So thank you, Julia.
Awesome. Good to see you, Alberto and Franca.
Bye. Good to see you, Julia. Good to see you all. Bye.